He is what? Whatever he has commanded is ought to be, because it comes out of his absolute wisdom, absolute mercy, absolute love, absolute justice. And then he is not like you. Nobody can challenge him. Nobody can do better job than him. Nobody's justice is more than him. Everything we have got is finite. Everything he has got is infinite. He is the transcendental other. Nobody can reach him. Nobody even can perceive him except through servitude, through knowledge, through proper obedience. And at the same time, when human beings believe in him, their belief is very different than their own self. Because when you think of God, you think of God as a light who is everywhere. Human beings are not everywhere. He does not seek anybody's assistance, He commands and orders. Everybody is dependent upon him. You call upon him, he responds. Yes, there is a human need of communication. There are certain uncertainties with all of us, the human beings. But believe me, the true Iman is not based upon those weaknesses and those uncertainties. Iman, the meaning of the Iman is that a person becomes secure. So Iman from Islamic perspective is to make a person secure that he has created me, he has loved me so much, he has given me so much. As long as I do what he wants me to do, as long as I know who he is, and as long as my ideology or philosophy of life is really true, in my understanding, I don't have to worry. That's where the stronger the Iman, there is more sense of security. There is Aman. And sense of security leads to confidence. Because the person says, I have not done anything wrong. When you have not committed a crime, you don't feel insecure. But if you have committed a crime, then your person becomes what? Tense. So in the same fashion, the Iman leads to confidence. That he is not going to let me down. He is with me wherever I am. If the whole world comes together and wants to harm me, nobody can do it. And if he wants to harm me, nobody can protect me. So instead of looking for 10,000 different supports, a person just keeps an eye upon one. So it is just like the sense of loyalty, that you are loyal to one and you make sure that that person is pleased, and after that you don't have to worry about anything else. Confidence leads to really sense of happiness or happiness, contentment. Confidence built in sense of happiness, that he is pleased with me, and whenever there's a mistake, you look, did I do anything wrong against him? If it is not, then I don't care about the word. If it is, then I have to worry. So what happens is that Aman and Iman is from the same root word, sense of security. Here it is sense of uncertainty. So even if something happens like earthquake, a person believes in Qada and Qadar, it was meant. That's where sometimes the happiness is defined as to really be content with the Qada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That yes, he decided for me this one, I have done whatever I could. A person looks at all of the reflection and after that it was not meant to be. So alhamdulillah, as we say it, basically it is his rida. And also, as the Quran says, ma asaba min musibatin fil ard wala fi anfusikum illa fi kitabin min qabli an nabraha inna dhalika 'ala Allah yasir likay la ta'saw 'ala ma fatakum wa la tafrahu bima atakum. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written these things for you from the beginning. So if you lose something, you reflect upon some of the things that where did I do something wrong, but after that you say it was meant to be. So do not open the chapter of law, what if I would have done such and such, because that will open the door of shaitan. Just move forward. And second thing is, if you have gotten something, don't show yourself happiness because it is because of me. Again, it was because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because if you lose tomorrow, you do not say, oh, I can try again. Actually, Rida and Qada and Qadar, they give you that sense of security and happiness that you don't feel insecure or unhappy or uncertain as fried and everybody else is saying. So the true sense of deen, true sense of Iman is altogether opposite of what the psychoanalysis are saying. It is the weak Iman. It is the popular Iman, the popular Muslims. Yes, first we go to Mazar, to the Qabr to make sure that we get, safety, we commit shirk, we do superstitions. So the type of belief they are analyzing is the popular belief. It's not the real belief. It's not the real iman. But unfortunately, in the biblical or in the Talmudic, say for example, compilation, this is what is the popular belief, the folklore belief. And it is combined or mixed up with the original message of Musa alayhi salatu wassalam, or the original message of the other prophets. So when you analyze that this whole nation is bringing their understanding of what God should be, or how God should be, or how we should behave into the name of God, then that God is not the creator. Human beings are creating that God. So these projection theories are pretty much from what we can call it from the perspective of the biblical understanding of God and the Talmudic understanding of God. Now, I'm going to give you the kind of historical developments. Because whenever you talk about the biblical passages, whenever you talk about the Talmudic passages, some of the scholars, they will bring the thoughts which are from Maimonides or Maimonides, or some of the later Jewish scholars. There is, as I've mentioned to you, majority, I will say 99%, are going with this clear-cut corporeal anthropomorphic understanding of God. And there's 1%, you can say it, who are very much upset that you have brought God into this world, made him look like a man, who is participating in your marriage ceremonies, who is crying with you, who is going in front of you when you are going in exile and crying, and is staying with you but can't do much. This is not God. This is a human being, or sometimes even worse than the human being. Now what happens is that some people, and I've given you the examples over there, they will quote those rabbis who are vehemently against this understanding of God and who are opposing them and criticizing them. And then they will say, this is truly is the Talmudic or the Rabbanic or the Jewish understanding. But don't forget that those rabbis were not even accepted as genuine among their own times. And they were repudiated as secular, as those people who are influenced by the Greek theology and later on by the Islamic theology. So therefore, whenever you read some of those portions, you have to ask who are they and what is their position. Now, after Islam came, and you know that majority of the Jewish community, they were part of the Muslim empire. The reason was that Muslims have got some very good opinion about the Jewish theology, about the Jewish law. So they allowed those minorities to have their own synagogues, their own, say for example, churches, their own courts, and because Islam did not impose upon them its religion. So most of them, they either stayed back or even migrated from other areas to the Islamic empire. And as the Muslim empire was at odds with the Christian empire, and many of the Jewish communities have moved from the European areas. So then Muslims used them, and because the Jewish community was smart enough also to play the role of the businessmen and the traders between East and West. So therefore, these are the people with whom the Muslim empire would deal, and then they would deal with the Christian empire. So therefore, these people, they really were very successful. And as I mentioned to you, they are always into learning, especially in the medical as well as in the business, which is the banking industry, and also the legal industry. So some of them were the wazirs of the Muslim caliphs. Some of them were the personal physicians of the Muslim caliph, and they flourished in the Abbasid time so much so that there was a separate, they call it Dawoodi area, which is Yahudi area. Say for example, they will call the son of David, their chief rabbi, was given the position of like a minister. So whenever he comes, the proper protocol, the proper all of that. So it led to so many discussions. Many of the Muslims, they blame them that you are anthropomorphist, you are mushabbiha, you are mujassima, that you basically look at God as a human being, as a body, and astaghfirullah, you do not properly respect God. That led to a schism within the Jewish community. Some of them, they said, we do not believe in this Talmud at all. Discard the Talmud. As in Islamic world, some of them, they say, we do not believe in hadith. Why? Because they found some of the weak hadith, and some of the ahadith do not make sense according to them because they are weak or they are fabricated, or they keep on listening to these kind of weak ahadith, and finally they say, we don't believe in hadith. So instead of looking at the genuine from the fabricated, they discard the whole corpus of hadith. So some of them, they became munkareen of Talmud. The Qara'iyin or the carriers, they in the 2nd century, starting from the 1st century of Islam, but in the 2nd century, they revolted against the Talmudic authority or the Rabbanic authority. It will be just like, I'm just giving the example, it's not exact the same, but somebody does not believe in the books of tafsir or the books of what? Hadith, for instance. And they learned from the Muslims, they had so much discussion, and their understanding of God became exactly like our Mu'tazilite theology. As you know, the Mu'tazilites, they came and they rejected the anthropomorphism, they rejected that God looks like a human being. They translated or interpreted the verses of the Quran from the metaphorical concept, sometimes ta'wil, allegoric. So the carriers are exactly like Mu'tazilite. And you will read over here some of the scholars, clear-cut statement from them, that they were nothing but a copy of Islamic theology. Also, the Rabbanic Judaism, which is the official Orthodox Judaism, they had no choice but to digest some of those. So people like Sa'di Gaun, Sa'di al-Fayumi, he is like a chief rabbi, and as you know, Fayum is in Egypt, and their main academy at that time, after Alexandria became in Fayum. So Sa'di al-Fayumi, basically he took the Islamic theology and interpreted most of the biblical passages in allegorical sense. By means of ta'wil, he tried to reconcile the biblical anthropomorphisms with their concept of God, that he is not like a man. No, this means this one, this means this one. But then the majority of the other rabbis, they differed with him. Finally, it was in the 12th century, the Maimonides, Musa ibn Mamun, as we know it, who was born in Andalus, Muslim Andalus, and when Muslims were expelled from there, he came and settled in Egypt with the Muslim, and he was the personal physician of the Muslim governor, as you know it, in Egypt. So he kind of revolutionized everything of the Hebrew Bible and of the Talmud. He wrote the book Dalalat al-Ha'irin, the guide to the perplexed, and in that guide he completely changed the Jewish theology, completely. And it is nothing but a copy of the Mu'tazilite understanding of God, but put in the Jewish terminology. He is the one who wrote the tafsir of the Old Testament, which is the Hebrew Bible. He is the one who codified or wrote the tafsir of Talmud also. And then he is the one who is the most accomplished among, say for example, the medieval Jewish philosophers. He is called the Al-Farabi of Judaism, because he took everything from Al-Farabi and Ibn Sina and just translated that into the Jewish terminology. So what he says, you cannot believe anything positive about God other than that he is mawjood. But when you say that he sees, it means that he is not blind. When you say he is merciful, it means that he is not, say for example, revengeful. So all of these things are proving something negative in God. So when you say he came and he went, it means that he is not dead, he is still alive. So basically he says that human beings cannot know anything about God.